I never thought a summer camp counselor job would change my life, but I guess that's how the important things always happen. You're just living your life, trying to make rent money before senior year starts. And then suddenly you're lying awake at 3 in the morning wondering if the guy in the bunk below you can hear your heartbeat through the mattress. My name's David, and I'm 21, studying architecture at a state school nobody's heard of unless they're from the area. I took the camp counselor position because it paid decent and included room and board for 8 weeks. Plus, I figured spending a summer in the mountains would look better on Instagram than my usual routine of working at my uncle's hardware store. I didn't expect Cassian. That's not a name you hear every day. When I first saw it on the bunk assignment sheet, I thought maybe it was a typo. But no, my bunkmate for the entire summer was actually named Cassian, 23, about to start grad school for environmental science, with this quiet intensity that made me nervous from the moment we shook hands. Our cabin was small, just 2 sets of bunk beds for the 4 male counselors, a single bathroom we all shared, and windows that didn't quite close all the way so you could always hear the pine trees moving in the wind. Cassian claimed the bottom bunk before I arrived, which meant I spent that whole first night lying 6 feet above him, acutely aware of every breath I took, every time I shifted position. The mattress was old and the springs creaked at the slightest movement. He was beautiful in this understated way that snuck up on you. Dark hair that curled slightly at the ends, always looking like he'd just run his fingers through it. Brown eyes that actually looked at you when you talked, not through you or past you. Lean build, maybe 5'10", with forearms that showed definition when he rolled up his sleeves. He wore these faded band t-shirts for groups I'd never heard of, and he had a habit of biting his lower lip when he was thinking. The first week passed in a blur of orientation meetings, learning camper names and figuring out how to coexist with Cassian in a space roughly the size of my childhood bedroom. He was neat, organized, considerate about noise. He'd ask before turning on his reading light at night. He always knocked before coming in, even though it was his room too. And he had this way of moving through space like he was trying not to take up too much of it, like he was apologizing for existing. I caught myself watching him more than I should have. The way he interacted with the kids during nature hikes, patient and enthusiastic. How he'd sit on the cabin steps in the evening, reading these thick paperbacks with cracked spines. The sound of his laugh, which was rare but genuine when it came. I told myself it was just admiration, just appreciating a good person. I'd been telling myself things like that for years. The insomnia started around week 2. Not sure why exactly. Maybe it was the unfamiliar bed, or the sounds of the forest at night, or the pressure of being responsible for a dozen 10-year-olds all day. Maybe it was something else I wasn't ready to name. I'd lie there in my bunk, staring at the wooden ceiling 6 inches from my face, listening to Cassian breathe steadily below me, and my mind would just race. Thinking about nothing and everything, whether I was doing okay as a counselor, whether I'd chosen the right major, whether I'd ever figure out who I actually was. One night, maybe 2:30 in the morning, I must have been moving around more than usual. The springs were creaking. I was flipping my pillow for the cool side every 5 minutes, sighing without meaning to. I heard Cassian shift below me. "Can't sleep?" His voice was soft, careful not to wake our cabin mates in the other bunk. "Sorry," I whispered back. "Didn't mean to keep you up." "You're not. I was already awake." A pause. "You okay?" Something about the darkness made it easier to be honest. "Just can't turn my brain off lately." "Yeah," he said, and I could hear understanding in that single word. "I get that." We didn't say anything else, but knowing he was awake too made me feel less alone somehow. I eventually fell asleep, though I don't remember when. It became a pattern. Every few nights I'd lie there restless and I'd hear Cassian's voice from below, quiet in the dark. "Still awake?" And we'd talk, these hushed conversations about nothing important, favorite movies, worst cafeteria food, whether the camp director's toupee was fooling anyone, stupid stuff that felt significant at 3 in the morning. Then one night, about a month into the summer, I was particularly restless. It had been a rough day. One of my campers had gotten homesick and cried through dinner, and I'd felt helpless, not knowing how to comfort him. I kept replaying it, wondering what I could have done differently. "David, Cassian's voice came from below. "Come down here." "What? Come down, seriously." I climbed down the ladder, confused. The cabin was dark except for a little moonlight through the windows. Cassian was sitting up in his bunk, blanket pooled around his waist, wearing a gray t-shirt. "Lie down," he said, scooting over to make room. "In your bunk?" "Yeah, on your stomach." My heart was doing something complicated in my chest, but I did what he said. The bunk was narrow, meant for one person, so we were close. I could feel the warmth of him beside me. I lay on my stomach, face turned to the side on the pillow, which smelled like his shampoo, something clean and cedar-scented. "My mom used to do this when I couldn't sleep," Cassian said softly. "It might help." Then I felt his hand on my back, over my t-shirt, and he started drawing. Slow, deliberate circles between my shoulder blades. Not a massage exactly, just this gentle, repetitive motion. Circles upon circles, his fingertips tracing the same path over and over. I stopped breathing for a second. Then I exhaled, and something in my chest unclenched. "Is this okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I managed. "It's okay." He kept drawing circles, and I felt my body start to relax in a way it hadn't in weeks. The touch was so simple, so innocent, but it was also the most intimate thing I'd experienced in longer than I could remember. Someone paying attention to me, someone trying to help me feel better. His hand was warm through my shirt, and the circles were hypnotic, steady, like a heartbeat made visible. "You did fine today," Cassian said quietly. "With Marcus. Sometimes kids just need to cry it out. You stayed with him. That matters." I felt useless. "You weren't." His hand kept moving, those endless circles. "You're good at this. The kids love you." I wanted to say something, but my throat felt tight. So I just lay there, feeling his hand on my back, feeling safer than I had in months, maybe years. The circles continued, patient and unwavering, and I felt myself starting to drift. "Thank you," I whispered. "Any time," he said. I fell asleep in his bunk that night. When I woke up a few hours later, early dawn light creeping through the windows, I was still there. Cassian was asleep beside me, on his side, facing me, his hand resting on the mattress between us. His face looked younger in sleep, peaceful. I watched him for a moment, this person who'd shown me such unexpected kindness, and felt something shift inside me, something I'd been pushing down for a long time. I carefully climbed back to my own bunk before anyone else woke up, but the next night when I couldn't sleep again, I didn't wait for an invitation. I climbed down and slipped into his bunk. Cassian stirred, opened his eyes, and without a word, gestured for me to lie down. I did, on my stomach, and his hand found my back. The circles started, and I felt that same sense of peace wash over me. It became our routine. 3-4 times a week, I'd climb down in the middle of the night. Sometimes we'd talk in whispers. Sometimes we'd just lie there in comfortable silence while his hand drew those endless circles on my back until I fell asleep. I started sleeping in his bunk more nights than not. We'd wake up in the morning, tangled together in the narrow space, and climb back to our respective bunks before the others woke. We never talked about what it meant. We never labeled it. But I was falling for him, obviously, completely. The way he hummed under his breath when he was concentrating. The way he always saved me the good cookies from the dining hall. The way he looked at me sometimes, like he was seeing something in me I didn't know was there. I started noticing other things, too. How he'd find excuses to touch me during the day. A hand on my shoulder when he passed behind me. Brushing pine needles off my shirt, sitting close enough that our knees touched during staff meetings. And his eyes would linger on me, these long looks I'd catch when I turned my head. Week 6, we took the campers on an overnight camping trip. Different sleeping arrangements, tents instead of cabins. I was in a tent with 3 kids who fell asleep immediately after a full day of hiking. I lay there in my sleeping bag, staring at the tent ceiling, and I missed him. Missed the circles on my back, missed his quiet presence, missed feeling like I belonged somewhere. The next night, back in our cabin, I climbed down to his bunk without even trying to sleep first. He was reading, a small booklight clipped to his paperback. He looked up when I appeared, and something flickered across his face. Relief, maybe. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, setting the book aside. "Didn't want to try alone," I said, and his eyes widened slightly. I lay down and his hand found my back, but this time it felt different. The circles were slower, more deliberate. His fingers pressed a little firmer, and then his hand slipped under my shirt, skin against skin, and I gasped quietly. "Is this okay?" he whispered. "Yes," I breathed. His palm was warm on my back, and the circles continued, but now every touch felt electric. I could feel the calluses on his fingertips, could feel my skin responding to his touch. My heart was pounding so hard, I was sure he could feel it through my back. "David," he said softly. "Yeah? I need to tell you something." I turned my head to look at him. His face was close to mine on the pillow, and in the dim light I could see uncertainty in his eyes, and hope, and fear. "I look forward to this every night," he said. "You coming down here, being close to you, I look forward to it all day." "Me too," I whispered. "I don't think—" He paused, his hand stilling on my back. "I don't think I'm just doing this to help you sleep anymore." My breath caught. "What are you doing it for?" "Because I want to touch you. Because I want you close. Because He closed his eyes. "Because I have feelings for you and I don't know what to do with them." I turned onto my side, facing him fully now. We were inches apart, sharing the same pillow, sharing the same air. "I have feelings for you too," I said. "I've been trying not to, but I do." His eyes opened, and the look in them made my chest ache. "Really?" "Really. Cassian, I think about you all the time. I've never felt like this about anyone." "Neither have I," he said. "I've dated, but it never felt like this. Nothing's ever felt like this." We stared at each other, and the moment stretched out, heavy with possibility. Then, slowly, carefully, he reached up and touched my face. Just his fingertips against my cheek, feather light, like he was making sure I was real. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered. "Please," I said. He leaned in and his lips met mine, soft and tentative. It was gentle, questioning, and I answered by kissing him back, my hand coming up to curl around the back of his neck. The kiss deepened, and it felt like something breaking open inside me, something I'd kept locked away for so long I'd forgotten it was there. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. He rested his forehead against mine. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," he said. "Me too. I just didn't think," I trailed off. "That I'd want you back?" He smiled. "David, I've been losing my mind, lying here every night with you in my arms, drawing circles on your back, wanting to kiss you so badly I could barely stand it. You should have said something. I was terrified. What if I was wrong? What if I ruined this?" He gestured between us. "Even if you didn't feel the same way, I didn't want to lose the friendship, didn't want to lose the nights with you." "You weren't wrong," I said, "and you won't lose me." We kissed again, longer this time, and his hand slipped back under my shirt. But now it was different. Now it was exploring, learning the landscape of my back, my sides, my ribs. I pressed closer to him, and the narrow bunk meant we were flush against each other, no space between us. "We should probably talk about this," he murmured against my lips. "Probably," I agreed, kissing him again. "Like, what it means, what we want." "Later," I said. "We can talk later." He laughed softly, and the sound vibrated between us. "Okay, later." We spent the rest of the night tangled together, kissing and touching and whispering. Nothing more than that. We weren't ready for more, but it felt monumental anyway. Every touch was a revelation. Every kiss was a promise. When dawn started creeping in, we were lying face to face, my arm around his waist, his fingers tracing patterns on my shoulder. "I don't want to go back to my bunk," I said. "Then don't, not anymore." He kissed my forehead. "Stay here, every night. I want you here." "What about the others? They'll notice." "Let them notice." He pulled back to look at me. "I'm tired of hiding, tired of pretending I don't feel what I feel." Me too, I realized. Yeah, me too. So I stopped climbing back to my bunk in the mornings. Our cabin mates noticed, of course, but they didn't make a big deal about it. One of them, Jake, just grinned at breakfast and said, "About time." Apparently we hadn't been as subtle as we thought. The last 2 weeks of camp were the best of my life. We were together, openly, and it felt like breathing after holding your breath underwater. We'd hold hands during evening campfires. He'd kiss me goodnight in front of everyone. And every night I'd lie in his bunk, and he'd draw circles on my back until I fell asleep in his arms. The campers didn't care. Kids are more accepting than adults give them credit for. They just saw two counselors who were happy, and that was enough for them. On the last night of camp, after all the campers had been picked up, after the final staff meeting and the goodbye hugs, Cassian and I sat on the cabin steps watching the sunset. His hand was in mine, our fingers interlaced. "What happens now?" I asked. "When we leave here? What do you want to happen?" "I want to be with you," I said. "Like, actually be with you. Date you, see where this goes." He turned to look at me, and his smile was brilliant. "I want that too. So much. Even though I'm still in undergrad and kind of a mess?" "You're not a mess. You're figuring things out. And yeah, even though." He squeezed my hand. "David, I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I think I've already fallen." My heart stopped, then started again, racing. "I'm falling in love with you too," I said. "I think I started that first night you drew circles on my back." "Then we'll figure it out," he said. "The distance, the schedules, all of it. We'll figure it out because this matters. You matter." We kissed as the sun disappeared behind the mountains, and I felt something settle in my chest. Peace, maybe. Certainty. The knowledge that I'd found something real, something worth fighting for. That was 3 months ago. We're still together, still figuring it out. He's in grad school 2 hours away, and I'm finishing my senior year, but we make it work. Video calls every night, visits every other weekend. And when we're together, I still sleep in his arms, and he still draws circles on my back until I fall asleep. I never expected a summer camp job to change my life. I never expected to find love in a bunk bed in a cabin in the mountains. But I guess that's how the important things always happen. You're just living your life, and then suddenly someone is drawing circles on your back, and you realize you've been waiting for them your whole life without knowing it. Cassian taught me that it's okay to need comfort. It's okay to let someone take care of you. It's okay to be vulnerable, to admit you can't sleep, to climb into someone's bunk and ask for help. And sometimes, the person who helps you sleep becomes the person you want to wake up next to every morning. I still have trouble sleeping sometimes, but now I have Cassian and his circles and his steady presence beside me. And that makes all the difference. Total_char_count 24,389.